Not so long ago, Sony showed the world the a6400, and when I say the world, I mean mainly the press in America got shown the a6400, and the rest of the world kind of just watched the American press getting hold of the a6400. But anyway, it's here, I've got it in my hands, in my bag in fact, and people were saying a6400, vlogging this, vlogging that. In fact, I should be vlogging with that, and not this. So here we go. Oh, magic! Through the beauty of video editing, the GH5 has turned into a6400. Anyway, first of all, I've got a bit of beef with some of the things that have been said about a6400, like huge fillet steak, massive T-bone steak beef with some of the things that have been said. Anyway, let's go. It is Sony's first big release of the year, but what is there to big up about the a6400? But first, this video is sponsored by Squarespace, the place to go to if you want to set up your own domain, website or online store. It has a screen that flips up, and every time there's a new camera that comes out with a screen that faces forward, the whole vlogging community just loses their shizzle and other bodily fluids because it's a vlogging camera. Yay! And Sony highlighted this with their own promotional videos, with not just one, but two promotional videos. But then the whole issue of putting the mic on top, on the hot shoe, thus blocking the screen became apparent. People's hot shizzle went straight back up, right up from where it came from. And the complaints started coming out. What a fail. Oh, Sony, what have you done? It's blocking the screen. I can't see myself. That's not a very good vlogging camera then, is it? But, you know, there were solutions. Solutions came out. And Sony's solution was a sort of L bracket, which is fine apart from the fact that it probably blocks the battery compartment, which seems alright. It's not blocking the screen anymore. But the thing is, you will need to change the batteries a lot with the a6400. And then there's also the fact that it'll probably just come loose. What else is there? Tape. Cheap and stupid. Then there's the up yours arm, which, to be fair, you might as well just give it the finger. But forget all that, because the solution is easy and cheap and quite obvious for just £25.99. Sounds like an ad, but it's not an ad. And with that 1 penny change you get, you can use it to attach the thing to your camera. It's a cage, and it will give you serious video geek credibility. I mean, I don't know why Sony didn't release their own cage accessory, because with the RX0, they had a little cage thing for it. They could have made millions with this. But look, if you can stretch your budget to add a cage, get the a6300 cage, because the cold shoe's on the right, solves your problem. Puts the mic on the right of the screen. A6500 cage, cold shoe on the left. So your mic is still blocking your screen just on one side. But if you have the Rode Video Mic Pro Plus, which is quite a chunky mic, make sure that you push it as far forward as possible, because it might knock against the screen, which will make a noise because the shock mount does wobble about. Talking about wobbliness. And talking about that knocking sound. I mean, that is the one thing, the rolling shutter is pretty damn atrocious. It's like jello, depending where you're from. But look, when you're vlogging like this, you really don't notice too much of the jello effect. Right. That's my only way across the river. Right. But for what it's worth, the rolling shutter in 4K looks a little worse than the a7 III. Not much more, but still worse. It is, however, much better than 1080p, but you're probably buying a Sony just to boast to your friends that you can shoot in 4K with your fancy new mirrorless camera, aren't you? Otherwise, it's quite a good camera for video. There's no recording time limit. The a7 III has a 30-minute time limit. This doesn't have any, probably because it doesn't overheat as fast as the a7 III. Side by side, the a7 III starts to overheat after 1 hour, 25 minutes, and stopped quite soon after that. The a6400 just kept going on and on and on, just like a freaking Duracell bunny. After about 2 hours, I gave up because I've got better things to be doing, to be honest. Proxy recording for faster editing. Mic input, no headphone jack. But really, are you gonna be monitoring your sound while vlogging? I don't think so. When we're talking about vlogging cameras, of course the big competitor to the a6400 is the Panasonic GH5, the camera that I'm using to film this right now, but that arguably has the better spec because less rolling shutter, in-body stabilization. But this could excel in one area, and that's dynamic range, and that's useful because I want to get my face right out of this sun right now because I think it's burning a hole in my eyeballs. God, let's move over there. Okay, that's much better on my eyeballs, but now we need to expose this correctly because I'm in the shadows. If we expose this for the sky, keeping the details in the sky, this, if we try to pull out details on my face, it's just going to end up a noisy mess, right? Like that. Okay, so let's change the exposure. Let's expose to the right, as they say, which basically just means overexpose. Of course, this is quite an extreme example because it's extremely backlit, but you know, in the Sony advert they said it'll be good for backlighting situations.
Yeah, clear even with backlighting. Well, yeah, it's always clear when you switch on the artificial lighting, isn't it?
But there we are. Exactly same aperture, exactly same shutter speed, same ISO. Now I can see on the zebra pattern that they're both overexposing the sky, and that's what we want because we don't want a noisy face. Although my face is noisy when I open my damn mouth. The GH5 has the better video options for sure, 4K 60, but the a6400 retains the details in those highlights much better.
The video on a6400 is pretty good overall, it's just a rolling shutter, but to be honest, is anyone really going to mark your vlog down if your content is good? Besides, with an ultra wide, the GH5 IBIS wobbles in the corners too.
A lot of fuss has been made about this being a vlogging camera, but why don't they just focus on this as a stills camera, because in terms of specs, it's pretty damn good. So here we are in Trafalgar Square because it's Chinese New Year and they've got some stuff going on, some Chinese-y type stuff. Look, there's Chinese people there, over there, there's one right here. And of course, this is no ordinary Chinese New Year celebrations. This is in the UK, so this is done British style. They've done it with the weather like this, with people standing around and middle-aged Caucasian people dressed up as middle-aged Chinese people. It's got the same Sony eye autofocusing system. But the only difference is that now it's always on. And it's brilliant. Other neat touches, you can customize what focusing zones show up, so you don't have to scroll through a load of focusing options you don't ever use anyway. And also the touchscreen is good for moving the focus point, and also you can just press on your subject to start tracking. Interestingly, just now, some Chinese dude asked me, "Are you Locke?" Thanks.
Are you Locke? Oh no, sorry.
No, I'm the other one. Chinese people can't tell the difference between one Chinese dude and another Chinese dude. Racist. Now, the autofocusing on the Sony a6400 with Sony's eye autofocusing is brilliant. I don't know how they can make it to work so well. It's like black magic. In fact, Sony should have called it eye black magic, because that's a very Sony name to come up with, isn't it? Curiously, it doesn't work on panda eyes, but apparently there will be firmware updates soon where we'll work on animal eyes. I'm not sure about men dressed up as animals, but we'll work on animals, apparently. That's probably in a future firmware update, maybe. The face and the eye AF thing though, just incredible. I must note that this footage that I record of the screen, it shows auto ISO, but actually on the screen you can see what ISO it is, even though it's on auto. Even when I'm moving about like a crazed madman, it keeps following my face and my eye, like a crazy mad thing as well.
When you put this focusing ability together with the fact that it can take photos, several of them, in quick succession, like this, then you can take over the world, or at least you can get a number of shots in focus. There were a couple that was slightly off, but impressive nonetheless, given that I was quite close up.
But dare I say, even though I haven't had both cameras side by side, although it was just last week when I tested the Fuji, it feels like the Sony's eye and face AF is just a little bit better than Fuji. Noticeably better. It kicks its ass.
So anyway, only kidding, the a6400 is amazing value. It would be wrong to just dismiss this as a vlogging camera gone wrong, because not only is it a mostly good camera for video, but especially for stills. It lacks the IBIS of the a6500, but this is stiff competition for the recently released Fujifilm X-T30, which is exactly the same price and also lacks IBIS. Yes, the screen flips into the mic, but a camera's more than just seeing your own face in the screen. Just before I go, I want to say a big thank you to Squarespace for sponsoring this video. If you want to set up your own online store, domain or website, go check them out. That's who I used to set up my own website because it's easy to set up, customize and maintain with a 24/7 help desk team. It just all makes sense. So go check them out. If you want to set up your own website, of course. With a load of templates to choose from, award-winning 24/7 customer service, a simple way of changing domain names over. I did it. It's great for people who want to create a personal website or one for e-commerce. You can start a free trial today and get 10% off your first purchase with the code KAI. There's only one way to find out if I'm going to fall in. Fuck! Oh shit, now that's all muddy. Fucking nature. Fuck! I should just stick to studios. Studios, nature and me do not mix.